Greetings, speedsters. We have the new card list released and leaked fully for Duelists of Shadows, the new product that's coming out in just about 2 weeks. They had given the box to a couple YouTubers. We all saw, I think, Lithium's video today, and it's exciting for sure. It's a lot of give and take here, a lot of reprints, a lot of new stuff that's coming. But I'm going to do kind of a deck by deck spotlight. And I'm going to start with the Burrito Supreme King Jaden deck as one of the 8 decks that are playable in this box. So we saw the skills spoiled. There's no real images of them right now online that aren't just a screen grab of some of the YouTube videos we've seen. So credit to Lithium's fingers that you might see in this one. But I want to go through kind of deck by deck with the skills, see what's in them. Is it going to be competitively viable? What reprints do we see? Do we see that people might use this? So let's start with Jaden because it's going to be evil heroes, and people love heroes. People still trying to make heroes work with GX hasn't been competitively viable, but with the evil heroes, there's potential here. So let's take a look. We'll start with the Jaden skills, the Supreme King Jaden skills. Sorry, this is when he gets really scary, right? I didn't really see this part of the anime, but he falls into despair and gets possessed by some guy, and now he's mean to everyone, and he like burns villages to the ground. So 2 skills for each kind of major character. And then there's going to be like a bunch of kind of the side characters and the other night guys that all have like each have like 1 skill. And I might do that in a separate video that's like all the extra stuff. Okay, so Jaden's skills, what we're going to see. First one, you should see this on the screen. Ruthless Means, which is once per duel during your main phase to control an evil hero. You can discard a card to make a face-up monster your opponent controls lose attack equal to its own defense, or lose defense equal to its attack. So there's a lot of cards that are piercers, so it makes sense. It's kind of like versatile that way. I hate that you have to discard a card. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I think that this, I don't know if people can use this. We saw a lot of skills get eroded where now you got to discard a card, and people were like, nah, I'm not doing that. So we'll see. Ruthless Means is the first skill for the Supreme Burrito Supreme Jaden. The other one being Dark Unity. I think this one's going to be used pretty frequently. It's one of those bullet skills. There's going to be a couple things happening. So you can use Super Poly to fusion summon cards that need Dark Fusion. Right, so you're going to see Super Poly and Dark Fusion in this deck. A lot of the fusions, in fact, all the fusions, I think, are the evil heroes, which need Dark Fusion. So you can use Super Poly to fuse for Dark. And there's 2 skills, or 2 other pieces. Each of the following skills can be used once per duel. You can lose 2,000 life points, then change the type of a special summon monster your opponent controls to rock. Okay, somebody fill me in on why that matters, because I didn't see the synergy there. But there must be something in here that lets you fuck around with rocks or mess around with rocks. You can discard a card, then add a Dark Fusion from your deck to your hand. You're getting something from that. It's kind of like a switcheroo, but you know what you're getting. So I'm gonna overlook the transgression that is discard a card in the skill. I think the Dark Unity is something that we're gonna see people use. So you know that skill. I think it's this box's or this Jaden's best shot at being viable, competitive, and it's a cool looking card too. It's got like him in the armor and all that stuff, so that's cool. So those are 2 skills associated with this deck, and then we'll go card by card for what's in this like one of 8 decks, right? If you wanted to like crack this open like a board game and play with everybody, obviously 20 card deck. We're playing Speed Duel. Let's go down the line with some heroes first. So Evil Hero Malicious Edge. This one you can tribute summon it if your opponent controls a monster. It's like a Cyber Dragon, but like for tributes. So if your opponent controls a monster, you contribute summon this card face up. There's a card in here that allows you, that basically works with this card. I think it's Infernal Prodigy. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand in attack position. So there's the special summon, and then it tees up for a potential Malicious Edge tribute. So that kind of makes sense there. There's Infernal Prodigy into Malicious Edge. It's also a piercer, right? So that kind of works with a Ruthless Means skill. Next is a lineup that I like to call the boys for elemental heroes, except for Bust a Nut right here. We got Avian, Burstinatrix, Clayman, and Sparkman. There's going to be your elemental heroes. We're going to need those. Get Evil Heroes, Dark Fusion. Wildheart's back in this also. Another reprint for Wildheart, and we also just saw Wildheart come through as a super rare in Tournament Pack 5. So that's kind of cool. Unaffected by traps. Neat little card. Infernal Gainer, this is the one where you can banish it from the field during your main phase. So you like, it's a 4-star. You summon it, you can banish it from the field, target a fiend monster you control, it can make 2 attacks. You can make a second attack during each battle phase while you control it face up. So this is like you're trying to slide in for that like finisher. You have lethal. There might be some OTK scenarios depending. There are some that can clearly clear 4,000, some of these evil heroes. So Gainer might work there. And I think there are some of these evil heroes that are piercers also. So that makes sense. Obviously it could work with Malicious Edge. So Gainer, and it also Gainer comes back like 2 turns later. So you banish it. The Fiend monster, while it's on the field, can attack twice. During your second standby phase, you special summon this card in attack position. So you can like keep doing this. I don't think your opponent will ever let you get away with that, but you can like keep doing it potentially. So I like that card. That's pretty cool. All right, I think that's all the elemental evil heroes that are just normal effect monsters. All right, next up we have Sand Moth, which is an interesting card. I like the defense on this, 2,000 for a 4-star. When it's face down defense position, the card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, except by battle. Switch the original attack and defense this card and special summon it. So this is kind of like a gotcha in defense. You know, you're trying to bonk, your opponent's going to bonk into its 2,000 defense. If they destroy it any other way, you get it back and switches attack. So it's kind of like a beater that's a little versatile there. So plus it looks awesome. So Sand Moth there. Versago Destroyer, you can substitute this card for a fusion material monster, but the other one has to be the right material. So it's a little bit of versatility for getting your evil heroes out. Dark Ruler Hades reprinted in this deck. I believe that the only reason it's reprinted is because one of these evil heroes in the fusion is going to require a level 6-star higher fiend. So they're like, well, we got to put a 6-star higher fiend in this deck. Let's put Hades back in this deck. Let's reprint that. It's a cool card in general. We saw this used pretty frequently during Battle City era, I think. It was a cool boss monster because we used a lot of, there were a lot of fiends. People are using like Nidoria and other things like that. So it's like negate the effects of monsters destroyed by battle with fiend monsters you control. So if you're playing a deck with multiple fiends, or actually, I'm sorry, this was in Twisted Nightmares, but it spilled into Battle City era. So Hades, it's a cool card, and we'll use it primarily for the fusion. Absorbing Jar coming back. This is a reprint also. Flip to destroy all spells traps. Then you draw a card for each. It kind of like resets the board a little bit. Absorbing Jar is cool. If you're trying to set up for like OTK, you're trying to get kind of the area wide open for something like Infernal Gainer, right? Or you get kind of the shock value with the tributes for Malicious Edge. It's Absorbing Jar makes sense here. Okay, Dark Fusion is basically polymerization, but it's for cards that say you need Dark Fusion, which is going to be all these. Using monster hand or field. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects this turn. It's very important to point out. So that's better polymerization. Dark Calling, I believe this is just Dark Fusion, but you banish, right? Fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck. Must be special summon Dark Fusion, but banishing the fusion materials. So instead of just sending them to graveyard. So yeah, Dark Calling is just a banished Dark Fusion. So you got 2 options for fusion. Evil Mind, I like cards like these. So this is like a, depending on the number of cards that it's in your opponent's graveyard. If you control a fiend monster, right, step 1, activate one of these effects based on the number of monsters in your opponent's graveyard. So they don't stack, unfortunately, but it gives you more options depending on where the duel is. It's nice to have a card that all of a sudden opens itself up to having other options, especially if it's late game. You'll notice there's a 10+ here. So 1+ draw a card. Right, so if there's just a monster in your opponent's graveyard, you'll be able to draw a card. It's a dead card until there's a monster in the grave, though. 4+, add a hero monster, Dark Fusion from deck to hand. And then 10+, add a polymerization or a fusion spell from deck to hand. So it gets your super poly, Dark Fusion, etc. You can only activate an Evil Mind per turn. So yeah, that'd be crazy if you could do like multiple of these. You had 3 in your hand. Evil Mind is cool. Dark World Lightning. Wow, yeah. So there's Dark World cards in this box. I don't think that I was mentally prepared for Dark World right away. But here we are. Target a set card on the field, destroy that target, then discard a card. There's so many discards. Hopefully the discard works with like, I think the Browse in this deck. There are a couple other cards for Dark World that it might make sense to splash in here because there's effects on the discard. But still, like in Speed Duel, discarding feels so bad. Like I hope that it works, you know, because you just run out of cards so fast. But Dark World Lightning's there. Super polymerization. This is going to work well with, what did I say? It was Dark Unity is the one where you can use this as Dark Fusion. So that's cool. So there's 3 opportunities for Dark Fusion if you're using Dark Unity right here. You could throw Poly in this. I mean, you could throw, no, you don't want to throw Poly in this. You got to use Dark Fusion. But Super Poly is the skill allows Super Poly to be used as Dark Fusion. So there's a lot of options there. Hero Signal, go into traps. We've seen Hero Signal. A monster control is destroyed by battle. Special summon elemental hero. Kind of churns them back out. Keeps that fusion material there. Dark Deal. I love this card. This is like some Metroid action going on right here. That's what this reminds me of. This is a weird card to look at. But Dark Deal, when your opponent activates a normal spell card, pay 1,000 life. The effect becomes your opponent discards a random card. So they're like paying the card to activate the card, but then they get to discard. So it's like they're losing 2 cards off this exchange. Well, I mean, you have to blow Dark Deal, obviously, but like I feel like it's too situational. Unless there's a lot of normal spell action that we're going to see as a result of all the cards. I mean, like think about what a normal spell is. I mean, a Dark Fusion, Dark Calling, Super Poly's quick play. But, there's going to be some normal spells. I think that we're going to see that kind of pattern in other decks where maybe Dark Deal makes sense. I don't know if it's going to make sense, though. And then Windstorm of Itaqua, which it makes sense. A lot of these cards have piercing. And this was a good trap that was used in 2019. This was like the trap to use when the game came out. And it makes sense that they put it in this deck because you're piercing, so you can mess around with that. And I think that a lot of these evil heroes are going to flip things to attack too. So Windstorm, that rounds out the base of the Supreme King Jaden deck. We'll go into extra deck here. Here's all your evil heroes. So they're all going to need Dark Fusion. This is the one with Malicious Edge and a level 6 or higher Fiend monster. So you need this guy and this guy to get this guy. All right, so we know we can already kind of get Malicious Edge quick with Infernal Prodigy. Hades has got to be in your hand, but then you get Malicious Fiend. So there you go. You could both be in your hand potentially. During your opponent's battle phase, all monsters they control are changed to face-up attack position. There you go, and each monster they control must attack this card if able. So easy way to clear the board depending on the situation. Is it worth it? Maybe. It definitely clears the bricks if you want to get this out. And, based on what we're seeing with the deck, it's, you're going to get some way to kind of poly pretty consistently. Evil Hero Inferno Wing. This is Burstinatrix and Avium. This is a Piercer. And destroys a monster by battle and sends to the graveyard. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of the monster in the graveyard. So this one kind of like peppers in the damage and gets some big numbers. Depending on, so it's like if it's attack, you're going to bowl it over. Defense, bowl it over. Depending, piercing, and you're going to hit the highest for life points, which is kind of cool. So this is kind of like a late game push here, or just you see lethal, you have it. That'd be pretty nasty with like Infernal Gain or 2. Moving on, Wild Cyclone is also Dark Fusion. This is Wild Heart and Avium. If it attacks, your opponent can't activate spell trap cards till the end of the damage step. So this is like just prevent. It's like I'm just going to attack, but in a card. Wild Cyclone. If it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, destroy all set spells and traps your opponent controls. That sounds broken, but then you look again at the attack and it's only 19. So you got to be able to kind of do damage there. 19 is not a lot anymore. So it's a cool card though. Wild Cyclone. Evil Hero Dark Gaia. I bet you people are going to try and make a deck solely around this card just because of like the nostalgia seeing this. This is a Fiend monster and a Rock monster, so like you're not bound by the heroes anymore. Right? Fiend monster and Rock monster. Must be special summon with Dark Fusion still, so you still need a Dark Fusion. Original attack of the card becomes a combined attack. So like people are going to figure out ways to like min-max the best Rock and Fiend possible combination for Dark Gaia. It's going to be a monster, right? When it declares an attack, you can change all defense position monsters your opponent controls to face-up attack position. So that's a little bit like Gap. There's some Gap action here. Flip effect's not activated. Yeah, that's some Gap action right there. So Dark Gaia is like a super gotcha card. It's cool to see. I'm excited. I really hope we see this played. And the last one's Lightning Golem, which is just like big boy punch you in the face, right? Once per turn, you can target a monster on the field, destroy that target. 2400 attack. That's not a bad card. That's really not a bad card. That's Sparkman and Clayman, right? So really not a bad, not much to say about that one. Once per turn, you can target monster field and destroy that target. That gives me like Serpent Knight Dragon vibes back then. All right, so that is the Supreme Burrito Supreme Jaden deck, 1 of 8 in the Shadow Duelist of Shadows box that we just saw the cards revealed for. They sent it to bigger YouTubers to open, but not little YouTubers like me. But you guys can change that by subscribing to the channel and sharing this video everywhere. I'm going to try and get a mini spotlight out on all 8 decks. I'm traveling for like the next week and a half, so it's like probably going to spill into when the box actually comes out, but it'll be cool to cover all of these. So appreciate you guys watching. I'll catch you guys later. See ya.